My name is Laura. I work in a small bookstore in the heart of our small town. It would seem like the most peaceful place on earth, but a few weeks ago everything changed. It all started with the disappearance of Elizabeth, my neighbor and childhood friend. She disappeared without a trace, leaving her house empty and cold. Her parents were desperate and the police had no leads. I remember Elizabeth and I walking along the same streets that I now walk home. She was always cheerful and loved evening walks. That evening, she also went out for a walk, but did not return. The police appealed to local residents for help, but no one saw anything. Every step in our town now seemed dangerous to me. I tried not to show my fear, but terror reigned in my soul. The day after Elizabeth disappeared, I found a strange letter on my doorstep. It was written in neat handwriting on old paper. There was only one sentence in it. "She's next." My heart stopped for a moment. Who could have written it? What did that mean? I felt a cold sweat run down my back. I immediately went to the police with this letter, but they could not find anything. The letter did not contain any fingerprints or other clues. Days passed, and the fear grew more and more. I began to notice that I was being watched. An unknown silhouette appeared in the dark when I was returning home. I heard footsteps behind me, but when I looked around, no one was there. One day, I decided not to endure this horror anymore and tried to find out more about Elizabeth's disappearance. I went to her parents to talk. They told me that a few days before she disappeared, she had received the same letter as me. I felt we were on the right track, but I didn't yet know where it would lead. The feeling of danger became a constant companion of my life. The story I'm about to tell will change the way you think about safety in small towns. This is just the beginning of my journey into darkness. After visiting Elizabeth's parents, I realized that we are dealing with something much more terrible than it seemed at first. In the evening, when I returned home, the feeling that I was being watched became even more pronounced. I saw shadows chasing me and heard footsteps that stopped as soon as I stopped and looked around. My house used to be my fortress, but now even here I did not feel safe. I locked the doors and closed the windows, trying to protect myself from the unknown threat. The phone was always next to me, ready to be called at any moment. One evening, when I was about to go to bed, I heard a strange sound outside the window. It was the crunch of gravel under someone's steps. My heart pounded in my chest, and I slowly approached the window, keeping in the shadows. I saw a silhouette standing in my yard and felt fear start to come over me. It was a tall man in a long cloak. His face was hidden by his hood, but I could see his eyes, which shone in the darkness. He stood there just looking at my house, as if studying every corner of it. I took the phone and dialed the number of the police, trying not to make any sound. But when I looked back at the yard, the man had disappeared. All that remained was the feeling that I was being watched. The police arrived quickly, but they found no trace. I told them about the man, but they said maybe he was just a passerby. They promised to patrol the area, but I knew that would not reassure me. The next day, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I started researching everything I could find about the disappearances in our town. It turned out that Elizabeth's disappearance was not the first. Over the past few years, several people have gone missing in our town, and they all received strange letters before disappearing. I contacted the local library to find more information. There I met Sam, a local journalist who was also investigating these disappearances. He told me that he has been trying to find out the truth for several months, but his investigation has reached a dead end. We decided to join forces and solve this mystery together. Sam found some old newspaper articles about the disappearances, and we started putting the puzzle together. Each disappearance had its own characteristics, but all the disappeared were united by letters and strange observations before the disappearance. We realized that we are dealing with a very dangerous person who carefully plans his crimes. Every step we took was risky, but we knew we couldn't stop. We were close to solving this mystery and finding the maniac terrorizing our town. Sam and I continued to investigate, trying to find any clues. Sam suggested that the maniac might be someone local who knew our town and its people well. This thought made me even more nervous because it could have been any of my neighbors, acquaintances, or even customers of my bookstore. One evening, we decided to take a walk to the place where Elizabeth was last seen. It was a small path in the woods on the outskirts of town. Darkness descended upon us, and every sound seemed menacing. We walked a few meters along the path when I noticed something shiny on the ground. It was a small locket that belonged to Elizabeth. I picked it up and a feeling of horror went through my whole body. It was a clear sign that she was here. Sam examined the locket and said we should show it to the police. We rushed to the station, but the police were skeptical. They took the locket in for examination, but said it wasn't enough evidence to warrant a search. I felt frustrated and helpless, but Sam reassured me that we were on the right track. The next day I found another letter on my doorstep. This time it read, "You're next." These words caused me to panic. I realized that time was running out and we had to act faster. Sam suggested joining forces with other local journalists and creating a team to investigate. We gathered in a cafe to discuss a plan of action. We each had our own part of the investigation, and we decided to share information every day. One of the journalists was Jacob, who said that a few years ago there were similar disappearances in our town, but the case was closed due to lack of evidence. He thought it might be the work of the same maniac who had returned. We decided to investigate old cases and find a connection between them. Each new detail became an important part of the puzzle. We knew that the maniac was somewhere nearby and watching us. It added tension and fear to our every step. We were prepared for the worst, but we could not stop. Every day we got closer to solving this terrible mystery, and we could not allow the maniac to go unpunished. Night fell on our town, and I, returning home after a meeting with journalists, could not get rid of the feeling that someone was watching me. The dark streets seemed even more threatening than usual. Every rustle made me shudder. Footsteps echoed in the silence, and I picked up my pace, trying to get home as quickly as possible. At some point, I looked back and saw that a silhouette was following me. He kept at a certain distance, but was not far behind. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I realized that I couldn't go home, otherwise the maniac would find out where I lived. I decided to make a circle around the block, hoping I could confuse the stalker. But he kept up. When I realized that he was getting closer with every step, I decided to run. My feet raced through the dark streets, and I tried not to look back, but the steps of the pursuer became louder and louder. I ran a few blocks before I saw a small alley and decided to hide there. Pressing against the wall, I tried to hold my breath. The footsteps came closer, and I saw the shadow of the pursuer pass by. My fear was so strong that I felt my whole body shaking. When the steps died down, I dared to leave the shelter and hurried to the house. When I got to the house, I quickly locked the door and turned on all the lights. My heart was still pounding with fear, and I knew it was too close. I called Sam and told him what had happened. He came to me a few minutes later. His presence calmed me a little, but we knew we had to act. Sam suggested I move in with him temporarily until we find a maniac. I agreed because being alone was too dangerous. The next morning, we went to the police again. I told them about the harassment, but again they found no evidence. They promised to increase patrols, but I no longer trusted their promises. We realized that we must catch this monster ourselves. Sam organized a meeting with other journalists to discuss our next steps. We decided to conduct our own investigation and collect more evidence. Each of us had our part of the task, and we were ready to risk everything to find the maniac. This nocturnal adventure only strengthened my resolve. I knew we couldn't stop until we found the truth and stopped this criminal. Each new day brought new challenges and dangers, but we were ready to go to the end. The next morning, after our meeting with the other journalists, Sam and I decided to go back to the library to look through the old archives and find more information about the disappearance. When we got to the library, I felt that this place was full of stories and mysteries waiting to be revealed. Mrs. Grace, the librarian, was very friendly and helped us find the archives we needed. She said that many years ago the town experienced a series of mysterious disappearances, but then no one could find a connection between them. We decided to focus on these old cases, hoping to find something important. Looking through old newspapers and documents, we noticed that each disappearance was accompanied by strange circumstances. Each of the missing received threatening letters similar to the ones Elizabeth and I received. These letters were key pieces of evidence that we could not ignore. Suddenly, Sam finds an article about a missing woman named Mary Ann, who disappeared a few months before the first known disappearance in our town. Her case was closed due to lack of evidence, but we decided to investigate it further. Perhaps this was the first crime of our maniac. We reached out to the local archives to find more information about Mary Ann. When we got there, it turned out that some files were missing. The archivist, Mr. Black, was surprised and said that this was extremely rare. This only confirmed our suspicions that someone is trying to hide the truth. We decided to visit Mary Ann's family, hoping to find some clues. Her sister, Kate, told us that before Mary Ann went missing, she received a strange, threatening letter. She showed us a copy of this letter, and we saw that the handwriting and style were the same as in the letters Elizabeth and I had received. Kate also mentioned that Mary Ann often noticed that she was being watched. She called the police several times, but they could do nothing. This increasingly resembled our situation, and we understood that we were dealing with a very dangerous person who had been operating for many years. With each new find, we came closer to solving this terrible mystery. But we knew that time was against us. The maniac could be anywhere and watch our every step. We had to be very careful and act quickly so as not to become the next victims. After talking with Kate, we realized that time is playing against us and that every step we take could be our last. We decided to act decisively. Sam suggested setting up a trap to lure the maniac out and catch him red-handed. We met with a group of journalists and discussed the plan in detail. I agreed to be the bait because the threatening letter I received indicated that the maniac was already following me. We decided that I would follow a certain route, while the others would discreetly observe and record everything that was happening. The next evening we gathered on the street where several people had disappeared earlier. My heart was pounding, but I knew I had no other choice. I started walking down the dark path, trying not to show my fear. Every sound seemed threatening to me, and I felt that a maniac was somewhere nearby. Suddenly, I heard footsteps behind me. My heart froze with fear, but I kept going. The footsteps were getting closer, and I knew that the maniac was close. When I reached the designated place, I turned sharply. In front of me stood a man in a long cloak and with a hood that hid his face. He had a knife in his hand, and I knew it was the end. But at that moment, Sam and other journalists, armed with cameras and flashlights, jumped out of the bushes. They tried to capture the maniac on video and stop him. The maniac did not expect such a turn of events. He tried to run away, but we all rushed after him together. We ran through the dark streets, trying not to lose sight of him. Eventually, we cornered him and were able to stop him. The police, which we called in advance, arrived very quickly and arrested him. We were tired but happy that we managed to catch this monster. The maniac was finally apprehended, and our town could breathe a sigh of relief. We returned to the library to finish our investigation and share our story with everyone. The day after the arrest of the maniac, we gathered in the library to summarize our investigation. Mrs. Grace made coffee and tea for us, and we sat down at the big table discussing the details. Sam said that the police had already started questioning the maniac, and he confessed to all the disappearances. His real name was Jonathan Gray, and he was well known in our town as a normal, quiet man. No one suspected that a terrible criminal was hiding behind his mask. Jonathan said he started his crimes many years ago when he felt he could manipulate people and make them disappear. He enjoyed the sense of power and fear of his victims. His threatening letters were a method of intimidation and control. He carefully planned each of his crimes, remaining unnoticed. We were all relieved that this horrible story was finally over, but we also knew we had to tell about her to warn others of the dangers and to remind us that even a small town can hold great secrets. I decided to write an article about our investigation and how we managed to catch the maniac. It was a story about courage, perseverance, and teamwork. We have shown that even ordinary people can change the world if they unite to achieve a common goal. The article caused a great resonance in our town. People started sharing their stories and experiences, and we realized that our investigation helped many people feel safe. This was an important step towards restoring peace and trust in our society. Sam and I continued to work together, investigating other mysterious cases and reporting them in our articles. We became real partners, and our investigation of the maniac was only the beginning of our work together. After the arrest of Jonathan Gray, our town gradually began to return to normal life. People felt safe again, and the fear of the maniac began to disappear. I returned to my bookstore, which remained closed for a while due to all the events. Customers began to come again, and I could feel our town coming to life. People often stopped by to talk about our investigation, and I realized that our story had left a big mark on their hearts. It was a reminder that even in the darkest times there is hope and the opportunity to change things for the better. Sam often came to my shop, and we continued to work on new investigations. Our joint efforts helped solve several more mysterious cases, and we became known in our region as a team of investigative journalists. One day, we received a letter from Elizabeth's family. They thanked us for our work and for helping us find the truth about their daughter's disappearance. It was very moving and confirmed that our work was not in vain. We were able to help people find peace and complete their stories. Our investigation and arrest of the maniac marked the beginning of a new era in our lives. Sam and I have received many offers of cooperation from various publications and organizations. We decided to start our own investigative journalism agency to continue our work and help people find the truth. Our agency quickly gained notoriety, and we received many inquiries from all over the country. We felt that we were doing important work, and it gave us strength and inspiration. Each new case was a challenge, but we knew we could handle any challenge. We became a real team, and our cooperation brought many successes. We have helped solve many mysterious cases and helped many people find answers to their questions. Our agency has become a symbol of truth and justice. A few years after our investigation of the maniac, we decided to write a book about our adventures. It was a story about courage, perseverance, and the strength of the human spirit. We wanted to share our experience and show that even in the darkest times there is an opportunity to find light and truth. The book became a bestseller, and we received a lot of positive feedback from readers. People thanked us for our work and for opening their eyes to the importance of being vigilant and courageous in the fight against evil. We realized that our story has meaning and can inspire others to fight for the truth. Our team gathered in a cozy cafe to celebrate the release of the book. We reminisced about all the events that led us to this point and felt proud of what we had accomplished. This was an important chapter in our lives, and we knew our work was not done yet. Sam raised his glass and made a toast. For truth, for courage, and for our team. We have taken a big step forward, but there is still a lot of work ahead. May our story inspire others to fight for justice and truth. We all raised our glasses and felt that our lives had changed forever. We found our calling and were ready to continue fighting for the truth, even if it meant risking our lives. As we left the cafe, I felt a warm breeze that reminded me of new opportunities and adventures. We walked through the streets of our town, which has become our home. We knew there were many challenges ahead, but we were ready to face them together.